I think an incredible mistake was made 25 years ago, and the amount of cognitive dissonance that is brewing and that has led to an inability for people to acknowledge those mistakes and to undo them has been glacial.
It's not a mistake. It was intentional and or negligent.
You're talking about hormone replacement therapy for perimenopausal and menopausal women.
That's correct.
Where tens and tens of millions of women every year are not getting the treatment that they need.
That's right.
This will be helpful to so many women, but it's maddening to me because I did not do hormone replacement therapy because of that warning. I would see that warning, it would scare me.
Well, this is important, Gail. I mean, the FDA commissioner said he hopes this will not just improve the quality of life for so many women, but also save lives. Dr. McCary said it not only alleviates those short-term symptoms, Gail, that you were talking about, hot flashes, night sweats, and weight gain, but there are also these long-term health benefits.
This is something we don't talk about enough in society, obviously. But I try to talk about it as much as I can on my page because it needs to be, we should be having these conversations regularly. We should be talking about women's health, women's reproduction. And I mean, like, not demeaning, not in a disparaging way, in a negative way at all. We need to be talking about it as far as like how we can help women more, how we need to study the female anatomy more, and so on and so on, because women have been greatly ignored and underserved. Pretty much for the entirety of modern medicine. And this is just going to be another example of that. Unfortunately, but it's groundbreaking, to be honest with you. I mean, it's positive that this is happening now, not that it happened before, but like now, okay, now there's a little light at the end of the tunnel. So there's that, but all the women that have suffered and, in the short term will continue to suffer because of the failures of men and the patriarchy. And I don't want to say failures because they didn't fail women. It's intentional. They ignored women intentionally. So they didn't fail. It wasn't like they tried and couldn't get there. That would be a failure. But if you don't even try, they didn't fail. They intentionally sought out to ignore the needs of women and to not offer any help to women whatsoever. Because we don't care about women as a society, right? Men don't care about women, and men shape society because we control it through threat of violence and force. But this was so interesting to me. I made a video the other day, but I was talking about perimenopause and menopause, and it's funny that now today I'm talking about this. It's just a coincidence, but men don't know shit about menopause. We don't know what it is. We don't know what happens with women when it happens to them. And it's something that we, as men, we need to be aware of. And I just wish more men, me included, like I need to be more aware and get more information on it. But I do have those conversations with my wife, and I have done some research, and and I do this, like I consume the content around it often. So that's good for me personally, but most men don't care to do it, sadly.
HRT with women. I think an incredible mistake was made 25 years ago, and the amount of cognitive dissonance that is brewing and that has led to an inability for people to acknowledge those mistakes and to undo them has been glacial at its pace.
It's not a mistake, and that's why the cognitive dissonance proves that it wasn't a mistake. A mistake, you go, oh shoot, I messed up. You know what I mean? It's not a mistake. It was intentional and or negligent, either one. Right? I choose negligence. But yeah, it's not a mistake. It was either intentional or negligence, and either way, that is what's leading to all the cognitive dissonance.
You're talking about hormone replacement therapy for perimenopausal and menopausal women.
That's correct.
Where tens and tens of millions of women every year are not getting the treatment that they need.
That's right.
I mean, how would you describe that?
You know, it's hard to not sound hyperbolic when you talk about it, but if you've watched your mother and your mother-in-law and many of your patients go through this, being a part of what I call the lost generation of women, the women that entered menopause at the turn of the century, it's very hard not to be distraught. And it's very hard not to argue that this is the greatest single failure of the modern medical system.
The inability to treat women with hormone replacement therapy.
They're uninterested in treating women with HRT. They're uninterested. It's not an inability. I mean, it has created an inability for some of the doctors or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But like the powers that be don't want to treat women. They don't at all because they don't see any value in a woman when she's 70 years old. They don't see any value in a woman when she can't have children anymore for the most part, right?
Look, you want to take the most charitable approach to interpreting the actions of others. I try to steel man as opposed to straw man cases. So they designed a trial in the 90s to test a hypothesis, but they really, really screwed up the interpretation. And even on the subsequent analyses, in other words, when you follow these women and repeated the analysis, estrogen given to women in this setting was not causing breast cancer, and yet the narrative just didn't change. We're actually seeing right now that the FDA is finally, after 2 decades, going to remove a black box warning to that effect.
And how important is hormone replacement therapy, specifically for women, going to extend not only lifespan, but health span?
I think that's the part that just gets missed, and I think that's another great example of where medicine 2.0 runs amok. I've had many debates with opponents of HRT, and they will go off in the weeds about, well, even if you concede that the benefits of HRT in terms of diabetes and colon cancer and heart disease, they're not that big. And besides, you really have to be worried about this risk of breast cancer, et cetera, et cetera. But when you turn your attention to bone density, when you turn your attention to vasomotor symptoms, when you turn your attention to sexual side effects, they sort of say, well, again, like that doesn't show up on lifespan, so we're not really going to pay attention to those metrics. Although many of those do, right? For example, lower bone density dramatically factors into lifespan because women are at an enormous risk for fractures if they fall, as are men, but women disproportionately more so because of the estrogen deprivation.
So if this doesn't scream out, if this doesn't show you how little men care about women, I don't know what will. And this is why we need more women in medicine, in STEM, and things of that nature. And we need them in positions of power because you mean to tell me that if there weren't back in the day in the 90s or whatever, now it's changing, but you mean back in the 90s. And I bet it's changing because women more women are in STEM and women are taking over STEM. But you mean to tell me back in the 90s, if it was 50-50 or 45-55, that the women wouldn't have been like, but what? Hell no. Let's research that some more. What's going on? You guys are misinterpreting. They would have checked it. Definitely. So you can clearly see A, how representation matters, and B, how little men care about women. And this goes into this bigger issue about the patriarchy and how the patriarchy actually functions. Men don't know how the patriarchy actually functions. This is the part of the patriarchy that men don't pay attention to. Men are so concerned with the overt, they miss the covert. And it's overt to me, but they miss the things that we just take for granted, like having drugs tested on us just because we got, a dick and balls. You know what I mean? Getting vehicles tested on us, on our physiological makeup because we're men. How they can make vasectomies safe and reversible, but not hysterectomies, let's say, right? Just for an example, things of that nature. It's because they don't care about the well-being of women. It's why women have to take birth control when there's a birth control, that is seemingly very safe for men, but men wouldn't, they don't want to, they don't care. They'll put the onus on women to take birth control still. They won't even give men the option at this point. Yeah, it's wild.
This will be helpful to so many women, but it's maddening to me because I did not do hormone replacement therapy because of that warning. I would see that warning, it would scare me. And even when the doctor would say, no, we got to pay attention to this. And then years later, when people say it was safe, I still had that study in my mind. So I'm very.
So this is important because they are removing, like the doctor just said in the last video, the FDA is removing that black label on there, which is, scaring, I'm sure it deterred a bunch of women away from it, but it also, I bet, stopped doctors from giving it to women, obviously. Like, why, unless it was some extreme risk, right? Maybe they were giving it to women, but that black label being on there, that pretty much put the kibosh on it. Because why would a medical official do that? They're looking at that going, I don't want to get fucking sued if something happens. So they didn't do it. But now it's getting removed, which means more and more women will be able to get the help that they need. Thank goodness.
Very excited for other women, but this is tough for me. What does the FDA now hope happens now that these warnings have been removed?
Well, this is important, Gail. I mean, the FDA commissioner said he hopes this will not just improve the quality of life for so many women, but also save lives. Dr. McCary said it not only alleviates those short-term symptoms, Gail, that you were talking about, hot flashes, night sweats, and weight gain, but there are also these long-term health benefits, preventing cardiovascular disease, preventing osteoporosis. That's a leading cause of death and disability in older women. And it helps prevent cognitive decline, including Alzheimer's. Dr. McCary even told us that he wishes his own mother could have had this treatment. Now, obviously, you should talk to your doctor to see if hormone therapy is right for you. But bottom line, the FDA hopes that taking these labels off many of these treatments will make that conversation easier with doctors.
Exactly. The doctors weren't administering it because, like, it has a fucking black label on it from the FDA. I'm not like, even if the doctors were like, oh, it might be good, but the doctors are like, I ain't about to no, absolutely not. It's not worth it at that point. So all these millions, billions of women, whatever, that's been suffering over time, right? Because men don't give a fuck. Because a group of men got together and just like, we don't care. Let them eat cake kind of situation. Marie Antoinette. This is also very interesting.
It's day 50, learning about women's health. I think I made a connection to something. I'm not sure if I'm right. Just follow me for a second because I'm stressed out. Women have more estrogen in their body, right? Because of that, your immune system gets boosted up. Like estrogen will actually raise or boost up your immune system. Then simultaneously, it will make you overreactive to things, which is why women, generally speaking, will have more allergies, right? So here's the connection that I'm making, right? Because if you are around certain things, if you have overexposure to certain things, let's say latex, because you work in the medical field or you happen to clean houses, for example, right? You have to wear more latex gloves, which then causes you to have a overreaction to latex that can make you more allergic to latex. Then at the same time, let's say fragrances, perfumes, certain skincare products, let's say metals, right? Like nickel. Women are 3 to 4 times more allergic to nickel. But that if you're wearing jewelry and you're wearing fake jewelry, that can cause you to have more breakouts and stuff like that, right? And it's because of societal norms on top of just your genetic makeup. Am I going crazy? Like everything feels like a conspiracy when it comes to looking up women's health. Because I found out that testosterone will actually calm your immune system. So men won't have as many allergies, generally speaking, but then simultaneously, they can't ward off infections, which is why when your man will, or any man will have a cold in general, he will just be down for the count for like a week or two.
Hold on now. This right here, this is important for the women. This is what I want y'all to do now. See, it go both ways. I got to be a both ways bandit now. So stop judging me when I get a cold and I'm down and I'm underneath them covers and you like, when I get a cold, I'll be up and about. Yeah, you got the power of estrogen. I don't. Okay? Cut a brother some slack. Okay? We all learning new things about our bodies today. All right? Because I didn't know that. But I feel vindicated because my wife has made me feel bad forever for not being able to be as resilient when I get a cold or when I got the flu. She's like, "Oh, you were that," and I'm like, "Yeah," but I'm like, "I ain't playing. I feel shitty. If I feel okay, you won't even know. I don't even be telling. I just keep it pushing. I keep it pushing. But yeah, come on now, give us a little slack. Come on, help us out."
Because of the fact that he has more testosterone in his body. I could be wrong, but like, it really feels like if you create a world for men, if you literally create this world, everything is going to hurt women.
And there we have it, the patriarchy. If you create a world for men, everything is going to hurt women. That's just the reality, bro. Like, that's, and the world is created for men. That's what it is. Men don't got to think about that shit. Y'all got to think about wearing latex gloves. You don't got, my wife is hypersensitive to, like, I'm hypersensitive to smells in general, right? But I can do fragrances. She can't. She fucking hates fragrances. She's like, no. Like I can smell, I'm like, it smells good. She's like, ugh, it smells like a fragrance. It smells like, like not, she likes like essential oil, you know what I mean? Like the real smells, right? I don't care. I like fucking, I like Polo cologne. Like I don't even know what that shit made out. I like the way the shit smell, you know what I mean? Like but she's like, no. And it makes sense. It makes sense based on what he's saying. I follow that. I track that. Absolutely. But that is amazing though. Ain't that some shit? Damn, the more the patriarchy is just so insidious. It's just so insidious and it's so disgusting on every single level, but it's like when I learn about it, I'm still not like I'm still disgusted and like embarrassed to some extent as a man. Like I didn't know any of this. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know anything about this before. I didn't know about HRT and women in perimenopause and menopause and da da da. You know what I mean? I didn't know about that before. My mom talked about menopause like a long time ago, but she didn't really like. I just knew like hot flashes. You know what I'm saying? Little weight gain. She didn't really get into the deets about it. It wasn't until my wife was like, "No, this is what it is." Perimenopause. She just started talking about that like a year ago, or yeah, probably within the last year or so. And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what it is." Okay, we've been talking about it. We talking about symptoms and what it could look like, and da 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 da. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So she been kind of like laying the foundation or whatever. But like, I didn't know about that shit. Like, I should have been knew about that. I should have been knew about that. I should have knew about that when I was a teenager, as a young adult, as an older adult, whatever, so on and so on. You know, I should have known. It's really frustrating. Like you learn every day. You don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing that I'm realizing. But as it pertains to this system, especially, you don't know how deep the rabbit hole goes. Just another peek into it. Like racism, same thing. Like when you find out that people used to cannibalize black people after they, hung us and shit like that from trees and they would eat pieces of us. You're like, what the fuck? It sounds crazy, right? But they did it. It happened not that long ago. Might still be happening, but it happened. It definitely happened not that long ago. You just never know. Like I didn't know. They don't teach you that in high school history. They don't teach you in biology how they don't test fucking anything on women. You know what I'm saying? They don't teach you about that shit. They don't teach you in economics how there's a pink tax that punishes women just for existing. They don't teach you about none of that stuff. Oh no, no, no. You got to find all that out on your own, man. If you're a man, I'm saying. The women, they learn the hard way because they're experiencing it. And a lot of women don't even know it either, by the way. It's not like most women know this stuff, right? Like they don't, they may not know again, because I'm like, I don't know about everything that racism does, but women feel it. I think intuitively women know. They feel like it's a plot against them. They feel like it. Then there's a shit ton of propaganda to convince women that it's not. That's what's happening the majority of the time. But I'm happy. I'm happy for the women, my wife included. You know what I'm saying? If she needs to, she can get on the HRT. You know, if you just now find this information, do some more research, holla at your doctor. Hopefully this could save some lives and ease a lot of women's experiences.